I know, right?
Go ahead, sis. We're gonna pick back up. This is part two, fam. Part two.
All right. So where do we leave off at? So for example, right, I applied for this job. So like I went through this training program and I kind of slipped through the cracks because there were certain requirements for the training program that I didn't quite meet, but I got into the training program still. I finished the training, graduated. I went and took my state certification test, passed on my first time, and like went to apply for a job. Got an interview with one of the first jobs I applied for, and then they're like, "We can't hire you for this reason or whatever." And it's not a no; it's just really a not yet. But like through that experience, I learned that like I have to be patient and like things don't come in my time; they come in God's time. And so like I yeah, sometimes like I don't even know if this is on topic with the book, but whatever. Like sometimes no's are not necessarily no's; they're just not yets. And so, you know, that's what I know about that. And like as far as like me, like practicing saying no to things that don't serve me, like it sometimes can feel hard. Like for example, with my mother, like if I go visit my mom's house and she asks me to do something to help her, it might be hard for me to say no because my mom has done a lot for me in my life and I feel like I owe her everything. So I have to do what my mom asked me to. And because she's my mom, and I feel like sometimes still I'm her 12-year-old child, and the way she talks to me is like I'm still her 12-year-old child. So like I have to do what she says. But sometimes I just don't be feeling it. No, mom, I don't want to do that. And like I have to be honest about like what my capacity is for doing things for other people because and like what is really my motive and intention for doing something for somebody or for something, outside of me. Because if it's really like out of the genuine, like go to my heart and I want to do it because I want to do it, then like it's like that's a pure intention. And like typically the result will be, something positive. But if it's like I'm doing something out of obligation or because I think I should be doing it or whatever, or I'm afraid of like what they'll think or say if I don't do it or whatever, like then that's not going to result in me feeling good. I'm going to probably build a resentment. I'm gonna be angry. I'm gonna be like, like, So what else did I want to say? Um, I don't know. I should probably read this book so that I know what I'm talking about. But that's my 2 cents. And um, Mikhail, I see you got the waves back. Let me hear it. What is this guy talking about? Man.
Well, I'm sad I missed the meat of your whole take, Rush Easy, because my computer died. But I really appreciate everybody's value on here because Squad been snapping, and this book is crazy. I accidentally read to chapter 10 because I was just reading and I wasn't even, like the chapters are so short that I just wasn't looking at the top of the page, y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's really all it is. Because I'm also reading the ebook on my phone, so I'm just sliding to the left. You know what I'm saying? It was just boop boop. So I have I'm gonna try and not give y'all too much of what comes next. But ultimately, I love what everybody was saying, and also what I love about this book and these first 6 chapters. Shout out Marcus for breaking down the chapters and what we should read, y'all, because I think that this gave a space to really catch everybody's perception on failure and success and like what happens in the process and really hearing everybody's different thought patterns on it as well is really cool, especially when you know like what's coming afterwards and you kind of know the direction of like what's happening a little bit. So it's lit, y'all. The main things that I caught were one in chapters 1 through 6 were mainly the fact that, as everybody else spoke about as well, like he had a lot of internal dialogue. And hold on, my bad. Boom. Now, like I take it 2 different ways. One way is like listen to yourself when your intuition tells you no. The other way is like chill out and relax and don't be afraid to enjoy yourself and quit being so uptight and you'll get to your goals faster. And then the other perspective is like, hey, as Jason talked about a little bit there, like don't be so in a hurry to get there because once you're there, all of a sudden everything else happened and Like my man doesn't even remember and he needs to actually have a whole conversation to like be caught up to speed because all of a sudden it just happened. And so I think it literally just promotes like focusing on the process, focusing on the internal dialogue and really what makes you feel the best. Because also, if you caught the names of the books that he read, or excuse me, that he wrote, one was like Failure Way to Success. In the beginning of the book, he literally, his wife was talking about it and he was talking about it, how he just doesn't fail. And then he took a few failures and then all of a sudden he woke up a success. And I want you to like really like read in between the lines there. It's literally failing forward. You know what I'm saying? I was like, bro, this is fire. And I'll give y'all one page. Okay, one page. He literally is going to have a whole conversation with himself. And I haven't gotten into the whole conversation yet, but I'm excited to hear how it goes because he's literally going to talk himself through what it seems like a lot of the lessons that we're about to learn in this book. And it's literally like being able to have a conversation with yourself in the future who already accomplished all the goals that you do have and the ones that you don't have yet. And so in that, he kind of gives you a glimpse into what your future can look like if you just stop worrying so much and just focus on the present, be present fully in the moment. So it was dope. Like as I was reading it, I was really confused. And then I was like catching the lessons and I was like, oh, wow, this is really fire. Because ultimately, one, like you notice his wife has the utmost confidence in him. Listen, bro, I wasn't even going to tell your ass about work tomorrow. I was going to tell you about the garbage. You know what I'm saying? Like you're tripping. It's okay. I already know you're good. But also in that, I always have this saying, and I've lived by it for the past few years as well. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Especially when we're talking about time, especially when we're talking about results, when we're talking about going for our goals, and when there's going to be applied pressure, like Amani talked about, there's a difference between like pressure definitely does create diamonds, but pressure also makes you make rash decisions. And when there's pressure on you, your emotion goes high and your logic goes low. And in that, you start to think of things from a completely different perspective. And sometimes you'll end up going and making decisions or having thought patterns that do not serve you going forward. And they literally hinder your success. We don't know if he missed his quota or not, or if he hit that quota or not. All we know is that he hit his head, period. And then from there, he ends up being an utmost success as well, killing it in every single arena in his life. It's honestly kind of wild when you think about it. But ultimately, like, I think the first six chapters were really like a setup for like, yo, you are going to have internal dialogue. Be aware of the internal dialogue. Choose. You know what I'm saying? You literally have a power of choice. But then also on top of that, it's like, yo, if you can choose fun a little bit every once in a while, like your brother was talking about, you can truly make more out of this life experience. And it won't be something where you just felt like you just grinded your face off and all of a sudden you ended up at your goals and you don't know what the hell your life looks like. You don't know where your wife is. You don't know what your brother's doing. You don't know anything that really happened because you were just so dialed in on success and focused. Whereas you forgot to literally eat the fruits of life. So in that, those are my takes on these first six chapters. That's kind of like the basis of the message that I caught. And then I'm excited for next week because it's a dope conversation as I've gotten to chapter 10 already. These next four chapters is pretty lit. I ain't gonna lie to you. But it's just a really cool dialogue. And ultimately, I feel like this book is really put in place to have you start thinking and have an internal dialogue with yourself and really asking yourself, what are the things that you actually want to do? Period. That honestly, some of them have absolutely nothing to do with your goals. Like I tell a lot of people when they're super stressed out and life kind of isn't going their way. Had this talk with Mateo as he was beginning his shout out March 1st. This month has definitely been wild for us all. But in that, I was like, bro, go do something fun. Go take a walk outside. Like I go on rollerblade. Y'all seen it on my story over the past couple weeks. I be rollerblading with my kids. It's nice outside of Minnesota enough so I can get back on my blades. Oh, I'm outside. I be moving and grooving through my neighborhoods. Anywhere I've ever lived, doesn't matter. Literally, I've rollerbladed the streets of all cities that I've lived in. But it's because I need those moments to just disconnect from everything focus and reconnect to everything Mikhail in my spirit. And so in that, golfing sounds like it did that for him. Even the lady talked about it like, yo, you're an avid golfer. It was in his bio on the, oh, never mind. I don't think y'all got that far. But I don't think he read the names of the books and read the bio yet outside chapter 6. But in that, he's an avid golfer, y'all. Long story short. And he started to do things that were fun, and it literally shaped his entire life as well. And so it was cool. I love all of the small pieces of his thought process throughout these first 6 chapters, just because I live that way. Honestly, I'd be not tripping for the most part, knowing that whatever quota is coming, I'm about to hit it regardless. But I also have been definitely understanding the urgency that's been placed on like hitting my quota before I go do fun stuff, but making sure that I hit it so that I can go do the fun stuff. Because without one, the other one almost doesn't seem worth it. So that's kind of my take. Marcus, I'll go ahead and pass it to you. You can close this out, player.
Boom, I appreciate it. Um, boom, praying for y'all.
Slow down and eat the fruits of life. I love that.
Always, always. Man, and I want to read something at the very beginning, right, in the author's notes. I love it because I think it's a great reminder, especially as we understand like this book, yes, is talking about sales, yes, is talking about actively getting to that process as well. But in doing so, y'all, success is a mindset than it is just a practice. And I think people forget that as a process. And we continuously have to remind ourselves of the truth of the matter that it's first perceived here and then you actively do it. And you cannot have success without the feedback. I don't even like calling it failure anymore because that's such a negative connotation. But I'm also helping people recognize that like failure is good. Like you shouldn't stray away from it or be afraid of it at all. It's something that you should go after, right? He says, or they had a quote, and it said, if you're not succeeding fast enough, you're probably not failing fast enough, and you can't have one without the other. So if you're going to avoid one, you're going to avoid both, right? A lot of people try to go after success, trying to avoid the negative parts or the pruning parts or the character shaping parts because it's uncomfortable and it sucks and it's really hard, right? We innately all want to be accepted. I think Warshezi kind of hit on that, right? We all care to an extent in that regard. And throughout the process, we just remain mindful of knowing that if you're going to go after this level of success, especially on the route that you're at currently, you're going to have to be willing to take and roll with the punches as you move forward, right? And that's why I love like the paradigm shift that you all spoke on and that the author really touches on as well, and understanding that you've got to be willing to go through the nose. And the way that I've always talked about, or I've always learned it from my mentors, is the overall paradigm that the more no's that you get, the closer you get to your yes. So like I just aim to get to 1,000 no's the quickest, and then from there I'll find the yeses throughout the process. Um, I kind of have a perspective that Sam has as well. Like when I get a no, like it excites me because I can categorize and I can move forward. You know what I'm saying? I used to struggle myself in terms of having an emotional connection to somebody's answers and responses, because I have a big heart and I really do care about a lot of people, and I don't apologize for the way that I hold that intention because I genuinely do care. You know what I'm saying? I want to see people win. I want to see our organizations and our communities thrive, not just seek to survive. And I recognize over time that it really takes a willingness to go through the ugly parts to get to the beautiful parts. And I think that's kind of why he jumps. I love what Jason said, right? It's kind of like he gives you the glimpse at the end without understanding the things in the middle, because sometimes if you understood the things in the middle, you're not even going to actually take the first steps to even start the process. I spoke very transparently on the Mental Health Monday call, but if I knew the middle part of what I've been going through, there ain't no way in hell, y'all. I would have took that first step back when I was 18 years young. I would have literally just been in tune and just doing the things that I was always taught to do and that I was reminding and being intentional with, of just going to school and getting a good job. I am remaining patient throughout the process, and I'm excited to read the rest of this book myself because this is the first time that I'm reading it along with you guys. Um, and I felt like, excuse me, y'all, my kind of voice, I think, is running out. I don't know what's going on with me. I think the wind's getting to me too, sis. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was just outside on a phone call, and the wind was just blasting in my face. I was like, yo, they couldn't even hear me. I had to turn my voice all the way back on. But but yeah, so I really am excited to get into the rest of the readings. Um, but I also want y'all to like understand, right? If we're reading this perspective from somebody that's having a level of success, like be mindful of the emotions and the ways in which he's thinking as he's telling his story, right? In chapter 5, he says, confusion and fear grew with every step. It's a little part of a sentence, but I know in my current season, I say I talk to God every day and I ask him to guide me because in the midst of my confusion, in the midst of my fear, I find security in him and he honestly helps me throughout my everyday to continuously, despite my lack of understanding, I can trust him, right? And I can seek the wisdom that comes from him. And despite the fear, I can still go after it, understanding that honestly, some of the greatest experiences and things that happen in life are directly behind that fear. And a lot of fear is based upon possibilities and circumstances that may or may not even happen. I don't know how many times I've let fear dictate my actions or lack thereof based on something that may or may not have even occurred, right? And I just know the successful people on the planet, they run towards fear because they understand that that's where the death of fear is certain. Will Smith, I'll leave it like this, right? Because it was a quick read and you guys had great takes. I appreciate everybody's insight and perspectives on the reading. I can't wait for the rest of the book. But Will Smith had talked about, a lot of y'all probably have heard it, his first experience like parachuting. And he was like, dude, I was fine all day. I was excited, get on the helicopter or the airplane. We were vibing out, started growing in altitude, and all of a sudden I get this pit in my stomach. I'm like, yo, what's going on? And then they open up the side door to the plane, even though he's got the expert on his back, ready to jump with him. He's like, has this almost paralyzing fear of like, yo, I don't know if I can do this. Like, this is crazy. What am I doing right now? And the moment that they're starting to count to 3, the guy jumps out on 2, and then all of a sudden, all that fear dissipated. And he said, like verbatim, it was the most blissful and euphoric experience that he had. And it was really directly behind the fear that kept him or could have kept him from even experiencing it. And I want to like urge you guys, like if you are fearful in going after something or getting a goal accomplished or developing and learning and practicing a skill, trying something new, being around people who are smarter than you or know more than you, then like just understand you're in the right spaces, you're in the right room. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're the smartest in the room, I promise you, you are not in the right space. You need to get on out of there and find a different room. You know, like if I know I'm not the smartest and I get to learn from every single one of y'all, including people that I consider as mentors and people that I pay to teach me what it is I need to know. Because I recognize that this process that we call life is a never-ending process of learning, is a never-ending process of evolving, and we are not perfect. Like there's no route and way that you will be ever. So the moment that you think you're too good is the moment you start going backwards. And I just always remember myself to do that. So I just aim for the ability to do that. And also taking into consideration of, I think Jason hit on it. I can't remember who did, but just like saying no to things as well so that I can stay focused on the goals that I'm going after. I've been doing that in a manner this season that I've never really done before. And I've been a pretty disciplined person my whole life. And I'm just learning new levels and new ways of thinking through the process. And I know this book is going to bring not only myself some insight behind that, but also everybody that is a part of what we got going on. So I love y'all and I appreciate y'all being who y'all are and what y'all do. Just know that we're here throughout the process and whenever you need us. And I'm always encouraging and praying and cheering y'all on because I recognize that we are capable of so much more than we think sometimes. And we just got to stay consistent on being willing to go and find the right people. And in order to go find the 1%, you got to go through the 99. All right. So go ahead. Let me hear all them no's. I'm cool with that. I'm just looking for the people who willing and ready. Right. Everyone's capable. Not everybody's willing. And that's all good. I don't need everybody. I just need those that are on the same type of time as me, and we'll get to where we're going. So I appreciate y'all. It was dope to hear everybody reading too. Quit playing with TGF and the squad outside, not playing with themselves and their dreams and their visions. That's what it's really about. And in the process, next week, I believe it's chapters 7 through 15. Let me just triple check, discount, double check. You know what I'm saying? Who? If I go to the book club section next week on the 29th, chapter 7 through 15. All right, bet. I'm excited for the discussion. I look forward to hearing y'all's perspectives as well. And I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's Saturday. As always, we'll see you at the top. Bombs way too crowded. Much love, fam. Peace.